Midweek update time, and after reviewing yesterday's pivots, ownership trends, and fresh reporting, we are making several reversals. Here is what changed, what stayed, and why. At quarterback, we are moving from Josh Allen back to Drake May at 7,100 with a dash rank of 100 against Miami, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 20. The combination of a manageable ownership around 10.47% and a stable projection at 21 is appealing, and that projection is reliable given he has been starting and producing for weeks. He averages 22 fantasy points per game, with recent scores of 32, 29, and 22. So the form is intact, and the ceiling is real. The news cycle supports confidence. Essentially, Sports covered his 5-touchdown day against the Jets and the NFL's final decision on the Jermaine Johnson hit, and followed with MVP debate coverage noting Kurt Warner's commentary after Stafford's 3-interception night shifted odds toward May. There is also skepticism from Cam Newton and a Super Bowl take from Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman that excluded him, which we view as noise that does not change his usage or production. With tournament leverage relative to Allen's likely higher tag and a still favorable overall matchup, we prefer May's balance of ceiling and ownership today. At running back, we are moving from Saquon Barkley back to James Cook at 7,900 with a dash rank of 100 against the Jets, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 29. He projects for 15 at about 8.2% ownership and averages 21 fantasy points per game, with recent outputs of 9, 29, and 34. The why is a blend of matchup and trust signals. Essentially, Sports highlighted a conversation where Saquon Barkley responded to Cook, crediting him for raising the running back payroll ceiling, plus a separate piece where Josh Allen called Cook underpaid, which tracks with continued feature usage. They also had Cook firmly inside their Week 16 fantasy RB ranks. Sub 10% ownership on a back with spike week receiving upside in one of the softest overall matchups on the slate makes him the right pivot back for us. At wide receiver, we are moving off George Pickens and returning to Luther Burden III at 5,300 with a dash rank of 100 against Detroit, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 25. He projects for 11 with essentially zero ownership, averages 9 fantasy points per game, and just posted 31, 0, and 14. Essentially, Sports has reported that Burden has been incredible for Chicago, while also reminding us that DJ Moore and Rome Odunze will command plenty of attention this season. That is exactly why we like him in DFS today. The role, volatility, keeps ownership at 0. But the talent-driven ceiling is clear at this price in a favorable overall matchup. At tight end, we are moving from Trey McBride to Chig Okonkwo at 3,400 with a dash rank of 100 against Jacksonville, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall with an opponent rank of 11. Chig projects for 9 at about 5.43% ownership, averages 8 fantasy points per game, and has delivered 15, 16, and 7 in his last 3. Yesterday, we paid all the way up for historic volume, but structurally, we now prefer the mid-range savings with recent form and a reasonable projection. If our Jaguars defense call creates a negative script for Tennessee, Chig's short area targets can rack up quickly at this salary. For the flex, we are pivoting from Tyrone Tracy Jr. back to Jawhar Jordan at 4,300 with a dash rank of 100 against Indianapolis, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 22. He projects for 5 at roughly 0.1% ownership and averages 11 fantasy points per game, with recent scores of 4, 12, and 17. The why is price-driven leverage on a player with enough explosiveness to beat this ownership in a friendly overall matchup. Essentially, Sports profiled his background and the long runway to this opportunity, and at this tag we only need one breakaway or red zone touch to pay off. On defense, We are moving from the Patriots to the Jaguars at 4,000, with a dash rank of 100 against Tennessee, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 29. The Jags project for 7 at about 2.23% ownership. We prefer the combination of a solid projection, sub 3% field exposure, and a divisional game environment that historically boosts volatility for DST scoring. Value Pool Update. We are keeping Chris Oladokun at 4,500 with a dash rank of 63 for large field tournaments against Las Vegas, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall with an opponent rank of 18. He projects for 13 at about 2.53% ownership with recent scores of 8 and 5. Essentially, Sports reported that he looked good in his first NFL start and got his first real taste of NFL football, which keeps him viable as a salary saver who can still get you there. Ronnie Rivers at 4,200 with a dash rank of 53 remains a deep punt only against Arizona, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 26. He projects for 4 with near zero ownership. The role is uncertain, and the recent fantasy point history shows zeros, so this is a pure game theory dart when you need extreme savings. We are removing Britton Covey at 3,000 with a dash rank of 65. Essentially, Sports relayed, reporting that he suffered a broken scapula and is expected to be sidelined for about 6 weeks, so he is off the board. For us, despite the Commanders providing the absolute worst defense overall with an opponent rank of 31. We are keeping Austin Hooper at 2,500 with a dash rank of 61 as a salary relief add-on to Drake May's stacks against Miami, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 20. He projects for 3 at about 0.53% ownership with recent scores of 9, 5, and 0. If you need a min price piece that correlates with May, he works. Cade Stover at 2,500 with a dash rank of 33 is a deep flex or TE punt against Indianapolis, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 22. He projects for 2 at near zero ownership with recent outputs of 0, 3, and 5. Only deploy in large fields where duplication is a concern. For a salary saver defense, we keep the Browns at 2,400 with a dash rank of 100 against Cincinnati, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 26. They project for 5 at about 1.13% ownership with recent scores of 9, 2, and 2. It is a viable projection at a bargain price that unlocks premium stacks. Quick recap of changes from yesterday's video. We moved from Josh Allen back to Drake May to capture ceiling plus ownership leverage in a favorable overall matchup supported by MVP buzz pieces and his 5-touchdown form noted by Essentially Sports. We flipped Saquon Barkley back to James Cook to buy a top 10 usage profile in one of the worst overall matchups, backed by reporting on his role, contract motivation, and Allen's confidence. We returned from George Pickens to Luther Burden III to exploit zero ownership volatility at 5,300 in a soft overall spot, with Essentially Sports calling his early Chicago play incredible. We shifted from Trey McBride to Chigo Okonkwo to reallocate salary while keeping a steady projection and recent form. We moved from Tyrone Tracy Jr. to Johar Jordan for low-owned explosiveness against one of the worst overall defenses. We transitioned defense from the Patriots to the Jaguars for a better projection and similar ownership. And in the value pool, we kept Chris Oladokun and Austin Hooper for correlation, kept Ronnie Rivers and Cade Stover as deep punts, added a note to avoid Britton Covey due to the reported broken scapula, and kept the Browns defense as a salary saver. Drop your preferred swap at wide receiver or flex in the comments, and we will adjust again after the next round of practice reports and beat updates.